Hey everybody, welcome to week 16. Congratulations on making it to the last week of the class. It is a big accomplishment. I know it's been a long time coming, but you're here, and I just want to encourage you to finish strong. I know that today, if you're watching this on Monday, which is when it opened up, is Memorial Day. And I just kept it consistent so that you would have the time, maybe even have extra time off that you can knock some stuff out today. But I wanted to keep the rhythm going like it has been all the way through. So the rhythm of this week is more or less the same. However, keep in mind that 11:59 on Sunday night, everything's closed, shut down. So make sure that you are ahead of the game. Do not wait until the last minute to do your assignments. If it were me, I would try to get them all knocked out by Friday, Saturday, and then just be able to chill and enjoy the rest of next weekend. So you're going to have your discussion, you're going to have your quiz, you're going to have your reflection observation, you're going to have test 3, both parts, meaning the listening part and the quiz part based on those quiz questions. But you're also going to have another part that basically measures what you have learned through this semester in a very specific way. What we call student learning outcomes was listed on your syllabus. And so everything that's in these tests does count towards your final. The points do count. It should be things that you all know. You should be able to put things together. They're not difficult. Take a little time to think about what you've learned, and then answer accordingly. But the points do count, so they are part of your grade. So you will see those in there. And those are due by the end of the day on Friday, okay? I will put it in my reminder on Thursday. I will make a mention here as well that those student learning outcome, SLOs, those 3 tests are due by the end of the day on Friday. And that is because I have to get them turned in to the college before the end of the semester, which is Sunday. I need the time to turn in the data for that. So that was one thing that's going to be a little bit different. Okay. So this week is the last chapter that we're going to cover, chapter 19, which is called Alienated and Back to the Roots Rock. There are a couple of other chapters in this, but I feel like, they're more recent, they're bands they're things Also, what's interesting as I've been teaching this for quite a few years now in a number of editions, is that there's a lot of changes that take place because every few years a new edition comes out and a band that you think maybe is going to be a popular one all of a sudden isn't. And that's an interesting thing I want you to think about just in light of this class is who is popular right now that you think will be popular in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years? Who will the history books be talking about? In fact, maybe I'll put a question right here. So I want you to think about somebody that is popular and new. Okay, so I don't want you to say Red Hot Chili Peppers or Green Day or whatever. I want somebody current in the charts that is relatively new, okay? Who will we be talking about 10 years or 20 years from now as someone who has contributed to the direction, the forward motion of rock, pop, whatever music, like we've learned in the context of this class. So I'll put a question in here. You can just let me know. So whatever you think, you're just going to get the 5 points for it. Okay. So as I mentioned, there's Alienated and then Back to the Roots Rock. So we learned about MTV. We learned about, new romanticism. We've learned about new wave. We've learned about the hair bands. We learned about alternative rock. And then there was another little subset that came out that in a couple of different ways. One of them is goth, which actually started before there was MTV. Particularly, probably the best example of a goth band is Bauhaus. And if any of you went to the, what was it, Cruel Summer event, you might have saw Bauhaus play there a couple weeks ago. But they were really one of the most well-known and the ones that typified it best. There's a lot of fascination with dark subject matter, vampires, and all sorts of things. So you'll learn about Bauhaus. Other bands that came out of that scene were like Susie and the Banshees, and even The Cure came out of that very early on. So you're going to learn about that. You're going to learn about post-punk, which is how punk evolved out of punk. And certain things, like it became more melodic. The subject matters changed. You got a mix of things. So you're going to learn about Husker Du. You're going to learn about the Replacements. You're going to learn, I think in here they mentioned Minor Threat, but then you'll learn about Ian MacKaye and the bands that he started after that, and he was really one of the forerunners of what would become the emo scene. You're going to learn about industrial rock. So going back to bands like Einstürzende Neubauten, a German band, and Front 242, and then Ministry, and those bands lead into Nine Inch Nails, who you probably know. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe we don't even know who those are anymore, but you hopefully will recognize the songs. Make sure that you're listening to the playlists. I always say that, but make sure that you're listening to the music so that you can, get the sounds of these things in there. Then you're going to learn about speed metal and thrash metal. So we learned about heavy metal. We learned about how hard rock and heavy metal, how they came out of Led Zeppelin, how they moved into the 70s, how Eddie Van Halen really changed the guitar sound by the time we get to 78 and on. And then, by then there's those early days of heavy metal. You got Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Def Leppard, AC/DC, all those great bands. And then punk was also rising, and a style developed known as speed metal, and then thrash metal, which was really kind of combining more the metal sensibility and the more metal styles of playing, but with the sort of speed and aggression and anger that you were getting from a lot of punk. The other thing that happened is a lot of that earlier heavy metal, you notice that you had the high sounding, more operatic voices. By the time you get to speed metal, they get to be normal vocal range. Think of bands like Slayer and Metallica. And then later as metal even evolved, even after that, so we don't even get into the metal of that, where it's that low guttural screamo kind of stuff that's really low, and all largely unintelligible. And then you're going to learn about death metal with bands like Venom and Cancer, and you'll learn about that. It's pretty much self-explanatory to what it is. There's always a desire to shock, to push things as far as you can go. Personally, I feel like there's nothing left to shock. There's nothing left, and there hasn't been for quite a while. So, we've had music that's been very vulgar and crass, and that's been going on for a while. We've had the dark subject matter, whether it was through death metal or through goth or through all of that. So it's kind of hard to, I don't know, what would it be? Like big band, maybe? Swing music would sort of push the envelope. People lose their mind. Even all the stuff that you hear in rap. I mean, NWA sort of raised things to level at the end of the 80s, and what do you do after that, right? And is that the goal? I think that's part of it anymore. I think some of it that's changed, though, is now that we listen so much to our own playlists, we curate music ourselves. We listen, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, whatever you're listening to. And so it's different. It's different now than it was even 10, 15 years ago. That all started to change. When we were all listening to the same few radio stations, or we were all watching MTV, the world was different because of that. We for good and for bad. But one of the great things about that was that we all had a certain level of shared experience. There might be certain people that maybe wouldn't listen to other genres. So if you were listening to hard rock and heavy metal, maybe you didn't know what was going on with funk and disco, or maybe you didn't know what was going on with country, or vice versa, in any of those scenarios. But there were also songs that were common. They crossed all the boundaries, and we had those in common. We don't really have that so much anymore. It's, I think, something that's been lost. And you can see that even just by the way people answer the assignments. And I was seeing it even when we would talk about music in my class back in the face-to-face days, that you would have bands get mentioned that nobody or maybe one other person in the class knew. And that didn't happen before. It wasn't that way. There were certain touchstones that everybody knew. And while there are touchstones that you all have maybe through the music that your parents listen to, things will continue to change. And it'll be interesting to see kind of where that goes as well. And then we're going to get back to the roots of rock and roll. So the thing about rock is that it cycles and it comes back. And there's two artists that a lot of music critics basically say saved rock and roll, if you will, rock music. One was the Ramones, and the second one, Bruce Springsteen. And Bruce Springsteen was actually started to become popular before the Ramones. He got signed in, I believe it was 72, and by John Hammond Sr., same guy that signed Dylan. And he was, a bar band ethos that told blue collar stories, and really was just sort of your average guy telling songs about and stories about regular folks. Very influenced by the writing of Bob Dylan, sonically very influenced by a lot of the bar bands and the soul groups. Also very influenced by Spector's Wall of Sound. So a lot of Springsteen is connected that way. So what you get is a lot of the history of rock and roll coming together in Bruce Springsteen. And that's why I like to end it with Bruce Springsteen. There's a great song. Every semester I try to come up with like a way to make an assignment out of this, and I haven't done it yet. Maybe I'll do it. I don't know. I got to figure it out. There's a great song called The River. And I suggest that you take the time to listen to it. Check out the words and think about the story that he's telling. Think about the metaphor of the river and think about how that changes in the course of the song, in this 4-minute long song. It's amazing. That's the power of music. That's the power of just this great art form. I was talking with my boys last night, and I mean, they're young men now, but and my youngest was who's all your age, or a lot of your age. He's 20. But he was just saying how much he loves music. He just loves listening to it. There's something about music that gets to the heart of things. So maybe I'll put another question here, which is just tell me what it is that you love about music. It doesn't have to be lengthy. It doesn't have to be brilliant or anything like that. But just tell me what it is that you love about music, what it does for you and your life. So we'll end it there, and I'm going to leave it with that. So again, have a great week. You've had your questions buried in here, or the last one will probably come after this. So do good work. Take the time and the effort to put thought into it. This is my last chance to say this. Don't view school as something you have to get through. Learn from it and get out of it as much as you can so that you become wiser and more knowledgeable about the world around you and your role in it and how you contribute to the world. Last week was a terrible week with what happened in Texas. Awful. I don't even know where to go with it. Evil things happen and bad things happen, but we are here, and while we are here, we can do things to make things better. And if you're struggling with dark thoughts about yourself or about others, please reach out to somebody and talk to them. You can reach out to me. You have my email. It's in the materials, right? Cadman_Shane at sccollege.edu. You can reach out to me. I'm here for you. We need to be the light in the world. We need to make it better. And that's done individually. It's easy to sit down and try to, solve problems on this massive scale. And I'm not saying that things don't need to be done, because they do. But we also need to make our little pieces of the world better. And you can do that by loving the people that are around you and being a light to the people that are around you. All right, that's it. I'm grateful for all of you. I'm glad that you've been in my class. I hope that it has meant something to you and that you walk out different and better because of it. Have a great week and keep an eye out. Don't forget, those SLO assignments are due on Friday. Talk to you later.